So we have to be a little on the quiet side. As you can see, my grandchildren are asleep. Your friendly neighborhood Raven speaker with part 2 of how to tell a story. If you think about it, storytelling is the process of asking questions and getting an answer. Storytelling is the most ancient method of disseminating information that is known to man. Our ancestors 20,000 years ago would sit around a fire and explain why something is generally the truth. This may seem like it's way too simple. And that's true. It is too simple. But it also is true that that's what the storyteller is doing. The storyteller is raising questions and then looking for an answer through the characters who are in the situation that raises the question. If you see a movie or read a book and it stays with you and it seems important and it's speaking to you, that's a story. If you're watching a movie or a television show or reading a book and you chuckle a couple of times, or maybe it gets your romantic juices going or something like that, you get some emotional reaction out of it. But other than that, it doesn't really stay with you. It doesn't tell you anything. It's not a story, it's an event. What's in the setup? The setup is the characters. Who are they? Who are these people? Okay? Where are they? What are they up to? And what is the flaw in them that is preventing them from ever being able to achieve what they're stating their goals are, what their purposes are? So I keep coming back to this idea that the storyteller is trying to answer questions. The storyteller is trying to come up with what the questions are. That's the conflict. And then the storyteller wants to come up with the best answer. And that is the purpose of the story. I have found the perfect example because it does everything right and then proceeds to do everything wrong. In the Korean entertainment industry, there seems to be an expressed intention to focus on good storytelling, to tell stories very well. And the standard is so high that just about everyone making films and television programs in Korea is fighting to meet this standard. So this story raises several questions in the first few episodes. And while it's raising these questions, it also happens to be amazingly funny. There's a lot of slapstick going on, and we love it. So first we have a young man who is basically lying to his parents. His mother is a former celebrity. We don't learn much about her in the beginning except that we know that she used to be a celebrity. We eventually find out that his father is actually his stepfather. But his father wants him to become a civil servant. He wants him to study. He wants him, basically it's the whole idea, get a real job. And they arrange for him to attend this academy so that he can study for the civil service exam and get a nice cushy government job. Great. He doesn't go. Instead, while they think he's at this academy that they're paying for, he is going to the big music company down the road and learning how to become what his parents don't want him to be, which is a celebrity. How is he going to resolve this? How is it possible for him to be true to himself and not be a liar to his parents who love him? How's he going to do that? That's a great question. I want to know the answer. I want to know what happens next. Then we have his best friend. She is fascinated by jerks. And we see that she has this history, one idiot after another, that she just has to be with. If the guy is a loser, she wants him. If the guy will treat her terribly, she wants him. Right? Now, in addition, we learn that she really doesn't have anyone. Her parents have abandoned her, and she's on her own. And the only person that she has in her life is this boy, who is her friend. There's no one else. There is no one else. She is alone except for him. Great. So she needs to get her life together. She needs to be able to depend upon herself. She needs to develop a future. And so she goes to this academy that the boy's parents are paying for instead of him. And this works out for everybody. Somebody is going to the academy. She has an opportunity to make something out of her life by studying how to become a government worker. It's great. If her big problem is that she's all alone in life, and she only likes idiots who will never provide her with any meaningful relationship, any meaningful companionship that she can depend on and rely on, then the obvious question is, will she ever figure out that idiots aren't dateable? That's a good question. I want to know the answer. Okay, great. Now we have a third question. We find out subtly at first, but then he explicitly tells somebody that he has loved her since they were little kids. And we see little flashbacks of them playing in the playground and this sort of thing. And he's always loved her. His problem is unique. His problem is that every time he's tried, there's usually some jerk who gets into the way and says, hey, why don't you date me? I'm an asshole. And of course, since she likes assholes, that's a good pickup line. So every single time he has stepped up and he's made a plan, this has happened. He's been interfered with. And in other times when he's just trying to just speak to her, he can't express it. And generally, she takes everything that he's saying as something that a brother would say to a sister, or a friend would say to a friend. And oh, look at there. Here's another jerk telling me he's an asshole. I think I'll date him. If a guy's a really good guy and he's right in front of you and you can count on him, should we give him a chance? I don't know, but that's a good question. I want to know the answer. The fourth question, it's a little odd. There are two celebrities. This is really unusual. The first is we have this male celebrity. He clearly doesn't want to interact with people. You see that he's really shy in public. He hides his face all the time. When he's at the company, he doesn't interact with anybody except for the president of the company, and he doesn't like him at all. And yet, we find that he seems compelled to mess with our female lead. He sees her and he can't help himself, and he torments her in all kinds of playful ways. She, on the other hand, gives it back to him. Rather than being awed by him, and she knows who he is. She's just spunky as you can imagine, and she's giving it back to him. And the most obvious reason for this is that they must like each other on some level. And certainly, because he's so standoffish and doesn't interact with people, he might count as a jerk. So that would make him attractive to a woman who likes jerks, right? Then we have the female celebrity. And this one is a lot clearer, and it's pretty funny. You can see me smiling because it is actually pretty funny. Our young hero, he's there at the music company every day, and he has a series of interactions with her that in the short run makes him look completely stupid, right? And she even starts calling him nicknames along those lines. Suddenly, she changes. She suddenly decides, okay, if you're just going to be around being an idiot, you might as well be my boyfriend. And it's so sudden and so unexpected and such a change from how she's been acting. And more to the point, you actually believe that she means it. So what's our hero gonna do? I mean, come on. Our guy is just a kid. What would you do if you were, 19, 20-year-old kid and a 19 and 20-year-old Britney Spears is coming on to you? What would you do? What would your reaction be? This is a good question. I want to know the answer. The really big question. This is the character who is the catalyst, the random element who's going to come in, cause chaos, and force everything to change. Who he is a little confusing. And it does actually take them several episodes to make clear what's going on. The gibberish is repeated often enough that after a while, the main parts of it at least, are understandable. In 1993, he's the biggest celebrity in the country. He's arrogant. He toys with people. He's got a charm about him. And he's way back in 1993. We realize that this narcissistic celebrity is the boy's dad. He's the love of the life of the mom that she's walking around sad about all the time. Here's the problem. We pick him up in 1993, and then he has a weird misadventure and ends up in the present day. And you're like, wait a minute. He disappears in 1994, but he goes into the future in 1993, which means he has to go back to 1994, doesn't it? So here he is, the biggest star in the country, from 1993, in the present day. Nobody knows who he is. So we get a lot of fish out of water comedy that's very effective, and it goes along with the slapstick humor we've been seeing so far. One of the things that I noticed right away was parallels to Back to the Future. In fact, there's even some references to Back to the Future in this story. So what it looks like is going on is, instead of the son going back and messing up the dad's chances with the girl, this is going to be a father coming into the future and messing up the son's chances with the girl. And you still have the situation of the dad has to go back into time because the kid's never going to be born. He had no relationship with mom until 1994. So in 1993, as far as he's concerned, he's never had any relationship with the mom. So this is raising too many questions to spell out, but you have to get answers, because this is crazy. Because if 1993 dad goes back in time, why did he create all of these problems? And the problems are vicious. They're the sorts of things that have caused everyone who's been left behind to suffer for 20 years. In one case, there's this big chunk of money that he got control of and removed from the company coffers, and when he vanished, so did any clue of what happened to this money. One of the things is that the family is struggling, and it's a really bizarre family. It's basically everybody who was in the company that still sort of hung on when the company collapsed after the disappearance of the top star. They've all decided they're just going to be a family together. So we've got mom, who was the celebrity. She was the Julie Andrews, innocent, wholesome, pure celebrity. who is suddenly an unwed mother. But not only is her career destroyed, the love of her life has vanished. And she carries that for decades. She's just mourning this loss. She is a clue to who the hell 1994 Dad is, if you think about it. She wouldn't be pining away over a one-night stand. She wouldn't be pining away over a guy who seduced her, maybe got what he wanted 2 or 3 times, and then vanished. Something real had to happen between Mom and 1994 Dad, whom we have not met. The only thing we know about 1994 Dad is that he has caused a lot of problems. And this is fascinating. And 1993 Dad has no idea because he never lived through any of that. So again, this is raising a ton of questions. And you have to know the answer to it. So the thing to know, the lesson to take from this is that this is good storytelling. Unfortunately, it became bad storytelling. It became bad storytelling instantaneously. However, this episode is how to tell a story. And they did it right here, which is setting everything up, setting up the questions that need to be answered. Answer them well, and your audience will say, whoa. This is your friendly neighborhood Raven speaker saying, "Der Malgegnitzen."